evening, everybody, and welcome to a special Wednesday night edition of the Glenn Kuiper Show, brought to you by Partners Capital LLC. Tonight, it's our bi-monthly show about the world of college sports in the NIL era. Everybody knows the word NIL, right? Name, image, likeness, athletes getting paid. It has become a huge, maybe the biggest deal in college sports now. And like I said, we're doing a bi-monthly show about this. Super interesting stuff. We got two great guests tonight that we're very much looking forward to talking to. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But we have to start with our sponsors, as always. Tonight's show brought to you by Partners Capital LLC, a wealth management firm providing financial strategies for elite performance and lasting peace of mind, with experience guiding professional athletes as well as families next door. Partners Capital delivers thoughtful planning, steady guidance, and a clear path forward. Partners Capital, your partner for a stronger financial future. Call them at 888-702-7743. We're also brought to you by the Carrick Real Estate Team. They have been helping families buy and sell homes across the Bay Area with a legacy of client-first service since 1978. Whether you're in the market to buy or sell, trust the Carrick Real Estate Team to guide you home. That's Carrick Real Estate Team, 925-548-5143. And we're also brought to you by the good folks at Tilden Properties. When you invest in multifamily real estate in the state of California and you do it with Tilden Properties, you'll see quarterly dividends and equity buildup in the real estate market. Bay Area-based, family-owned, Tilden Properties has been building investment wealth for their clients since 2008. Go to their website, look at their portfolio at tildenproperties.com, or call them at 925-209-8558. We're also brought to you by Area Rug Cleaning Direct, a subsidiary of Gamble's Flooring. If your area rug needs professional cleaning or repair, Area Rug Cleaning Direct will pick up and return your area rug looking brand new within 5 business days. Family owned and proudly serving the Bay Area for over 35 years. Call Area Rug Cleaning Direct at 925-933-9999 for all your area rug needs. So as always, we thank our sponsors. Good people. We couldn't do this show without them. So tonight, we as always, we want some comments. If you guys are interested in what our two guests are talking about, and we'll get your comments, questions, thoughts, anything in the comments section. We will get those into the show as well. So let's get started. We got one company, Partners Capital, trying to make things profitable for everybody involved in this NIL era. And we have a university who has joined them. This is really good stuff today. Ken Gamble. Ken was with us on the first show. He is the founder and managing partner of Partner Capital. Very sharp guy. He's got a great idea, and I think it's going to work in the world of sports. And if anybody can do it, he can. And we're also joined by Peter Bain. He's the executive director of the To the Top Collective, which is the NIL marketing arm for the University of Southern Mississippi. So we have the man with the idea, and we have a university who liked the idea. And we're going to get to the relationship you guys have now with NIL. And again, you guys know 1,000 times more about this than I do. So I'm just going to throw the questions at you and listen to what you guys have to say. But anyways, thanks for joining us. Before we get started, let's have a fun question. And what do you guys think about the college football playoff format? Do you like this 12-team format? I know it's down to 4 now. But Ken, what do you think about it? A lot of talk whether it's good or not.
It's great. I mean, fans have always wanted a playoff. It wasn't that long ago that the committees were selecting just 2 teams to play in the championship game, and then it went to 4, and then it seemed like every time they add, there's always a layer of teams that are left out. Mm-hmm. And they went to 12, and it's still not enough, right? Notre Dame was left out. Texas was left out. Vanderbilt, I'm right there in Nashville, as you know, they were left out, at least in their own minds, and I get why. And so I feel it's pretty simple and easy to go to 16. Honestly, we don't need buys. Let's just play through it. That would allow a couple more bigger teams to get in. I do like Tulane in there, and I do like JMU in there. I understand it's less competitive. I get that. We've all heard Nick Saban's take on that. It's like, you're not going to let the AAA Athletics play in the World Series. I get it, Coach. I got it.
It's a little harsh. It's a little harsh.
It's a little harsh. But I get it. There can be a different size and talent discrepancy, but there's a lot of talent too in the American and the Sun Belt and the West Coast Conference and all that. So personally, 12 big schools, 4 small schools, I think that would work, and I think that would take care of those fringe teams. But
Peter, what do you think?
I mean, I love the playoff, the 12-team format. I think everything about it is great, except for the calendar, except for this area where we're in right now, where there's guys preparing for games this week and every other school's recruiting their players, their coaches. That's the part that hopefully can get resolved sooner rather than later. You know, the season and the athletics, the way the school system, they've never seemed to agree, I guess. And with the way football's gone, I think that's my biggest gripe about it right now, is how you had teams with a month off, you know, very difficult to maintain any kind of, you know, continuity with everything going on when you have almost a month off. And then the second semester start, you know, when the national championship is being played. So to me, it is a little bit drug out when it could be a little bit more. You know, you take out the games like Saban, you know, when he lost to Louisiana Monroe, a AAA team, you take those out of the regular season, then you don't have to worry about them. And then if they crack the playoffs, then you get to see the best of the best. So that's one thing that I think the scheduling, adding another conference game for SEC, taking away some of the games that are meaningless, you know, quite frankly, in the regular season, that's probably where the playoff would get better. Then you've got games all throughout December, or, you know, around that, where coaches can leave and the season can be over and be focused on the next season, not still playing and trying to complete the mission of the first season. So probably the biggest gripe I've got is the calendar, but everything else, 12 teams, beautiful, great. Everybody, you know, that's why they let us in at the group of 5, because we got a chance to compete. That's what we earned. So if we get $4 million for making it in the playoff spot, we get to showcase our brand and our school in front of the whole country, then we live for that. I mean, when I was playing at Southern Miss, we had ESPN games. That was a recruiting tool. Like, you were going to get to play on ESPN. Well, the way media is now, there's a lot of schools that have that every weekend. So the idea is, you know, you get to play for that opportunity. And yeah, so I think it's great. Calendar and schools, you know, those got to get on the same page, but I think we're close. I think we are.
All right, let's get to the Partners Capital Southern Miss relationship. Ken, I know you meet with athletic departments, and probably more so, you know, collectives for the universities. I know you meet with them all the time, right? I know you're meeting with them right now. You're not even at home in Nashville. Tell us how the relationship started with the University of Southern Miss.
Well, it started with a referral to Southern Miss from a player, but it started originally from a donor that was giving to their particular university and was tired of donating. I mentioned this in our prior broadcast. Donors do a great job of donating to causes they care about, and player compensation initially was a great idea, but then it sort of started to rub donors the wrong way. You know, donating for teams and players that didn't stick around or didn't end up winning, and, you know, money doesn't guarantee a championship, clearly, but and then not get anything for it, and it wasn't a good fit. It still is not a good fit. And with the cost of donors, donation requirements growing and increasing each year, the need for more donations has become even more prevalent, and more is needed. So there was a need there. How do we fix that? And so bringing a capital component to that has been a nice fit for these collectives. An element they didn't have before. They had donations, they've got rev share, but having a capital component, they did not. And that's where the connection and the bond was created.
So Peter, and again, Peter Boehm is the executive director of the To the Top Collective, which is the marketing arm for the University of Southern Mississippi when it comes to the NIL. And Peter, first of all, what were your thoughts when Ken contacted you and the university about his fund and his idea and how to make this better?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I was working really close with our head football coach. We were fundraising, asking for donations and raising money for the new liability that we were taking on, essentially. So when Ken came to the fold with the capital component of having a market, it was evident that our fans, our donors, everybody was curious on how are we actually transacting this money, and what are we doing with it, and what is the component, because it can't just be what it always has been, right? We can't just be writing checks and then now everybody's transferring and we're not good, or we haven't won and we're still just, there's got to be more substance here, right? And so when Ken brought it to us, got in touch with me and the head football coach, and we were able to sit down and just, they came down here, they visited with me. I was in this space with both feet, running it side by side with our football coach at the time, before the settlement happened and before revenue sharing, when it was all NIL. And so, there's opportunity in chaos. I heard that quote and I thought, this is amazing. So Ken, seeing that too, and everything he had with the former relationships with all of his former athletes, and the donor fatigue was just really setting in for a lot of people that he dealt with, and especially people that are in the circles that I'm in of raising money and fundraising and finding creative new ways to do that. So having a capital component for what we're trying to do and sustain, I mean, it just made a lot of sense. So from there, it was months of going back and forth of, understanding this, where it was going, a lot of the chaos, so to speak, in NIL was, well, who's doing that, or what are they doing? And then let's see what they do. So this is nothing that anybody really has to guess on or think heavily on, because it makes a lot of sense. You're never going to outwork the capital market. And if we're being smart with our money to where it's sustainable in the sense that you're investing and you're not donating, then it allows for everybody, I think, to feel that sort of return that they want, and also see that return in a real way, rather than, the experience of it all and the pageantry of it all, because all of those things are what make college athletics so great. And that's, to me, what NIL has kind of misinterpreted a lot and gone by the wayside of, hey, the people that are doing all of this, and the reason that this is so big is because of the 100,000 stadiums seats that we have, and the people that show up every week, no matter what. And that's what, I can ramble on it, but obviously Ken and the Partners Capital Fund, the background they had with athletics and athletes, donor fatigue, it was a no-brainer. And so from here we are, just campaigning, making sure we're telling all of our fans, our members, that this is an element that we have, and we're bringing you on board with us.
And Ken, listen, this is our second show that we've done, and we're going to continue to grow this. But I think, in fairness to you, explain to the viewers, and you did in the first show, but I think you need to do it again. Explain to them exactly what your fund is doing, what your idea is, and how this is better than the way it's been done in the past. Because I think we're talking about this, but there may be people hearing this for the first time and they're saying, well, what's Ken Gamble's big idea that's new? And I think you need to explain that again to people.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying big idea and new, but it's not really a big idea and it's not really new. It's happening every day at different universities at different levels. Most people think that when we got the settlement, House versus the NCAA, okay, phew, it's all done. And universities can pay up to $20,500,000 towards player compensation every single year. And that's it. We don't need to worry about raising money. We don't need to worry about donations. We don't need to worry about doing anything. They can just do that. Well, Hunter Yurachek, the athletic director at Arkansas University there in Fayetteville, went out openly and said, oh, this is great. So our athletic budget is $175 million, University of Arkansas, but our expenses are $175 billion. Now we have a $20 million shortfall. It's on the internet. He's spoken a lot about that. So it didn't really cure anything. It just allowed universities to redirect funds that they already had. It wasn't a new thing. In Southern Miss's case, or any Sun Belt conference, $20 million is 75 or 80% of their athletic budget. They're not going to spend $20 million when they need to fund baseball, which Southern Miss, by the way, competes for an opportunity to play in the College World Series every single year. They've got a great golf complex, great golfers. They can't shortchange those sports. Every university spends a different amount of that $20 million. I'm not convinced there's more than 5 or 6 universities in the whole country that max out 20 million on rev share. It's not that easy. So they still need donations. They still need volunteers. They still need that. So they have the rev share component. You have the donation component. And then I know you need a capital markets component. Why? Because the cost of athletics is going up every single year. And I meet with universities, meet with coaches all the time who have a $1 million quarterback. And in 5 years, they say, we'll need a $3 million quarterback. Well, the minute they raise the cap to 40 million on the rev share for universities are going to say, so what? So what? If I don't have the revenue to match that liability, I can't take advantage of that cap. So where we come in is, hey, let's create a fund, a private fund for that university that grows. Instead of donors can always donate to the school, but if they invest in a private fund, in this case, we're talking about Southern Miss, and they invest in a private fund for the benefit of themselves and the benefit of the universities, they can split the revenues, and some of the revenue can go to the university through the foundation, thereby getting the write-off, and some of it can go to the investors of the fund. So It's like-minded individuals working together for one common goal. And then the final piece is educating those athletes. As Peter indicated, we've worked with athletes for 2.5 decades on how to manage that money and how to put the team around them to paying taxes, to investing their money. What's great about NIL is most athletes aren't going to the pros. They're not going to get drafted and make it to Major League Baseball. If they do, they'll get lost in AA. It's not that easy, as you know, Glenn, to make it to a Major League roster. It's really difficult to get onto an NFL roster, and basketball is even harder. So whatever money these kids can get for themselves and earn at the college level and take with them to their next launch point of their life, their next step of their life, that's a powerful start for them. And they need to manage it, but they need to be compensated for the services and the entertainment they're providing to these schools. So what we do aligns the interests of the donors and the athletes and the university, rather than having the donors sit on the opposite side of the table. Here's my check for $100,000. Do with it what you please. Maybe they win, maybe they don't. And then the donor sees nothing from it. Maybe they get a write-off. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. But if they can grow that money in a private fund that they own, and they can take their money out at any time, some of the return goes to them and some of it goes to the universities, it will grow as the third leg of the three-legged stool, which is rev share is one leg. What Peter does in generating donations and enthusiasm in Hattiesburg. And then we have the capital fund. And I get it's about player compensation. I get it's about winning trophies. I get all that. But it also raises the level of the community when you do that. Hattiesburg is a great example. We want the hotels in Hattiesburg to be sold out because the women's basketball team is hosting an NCAA championship, NCAA tournament first round game. We want the hotels in Hattiesburg to be booked because they're hosting an NCAA regional in golf. We want it not just to be during football season. That's what this allows to happen. You have to have that capital component to it. And so our firm is situated, and I have the partners in place to manage private funds for these donors to become investors.
So, Peter, what made you want to do this? Because it strikes me as a difficult job. I mean, you have to continue to find revenue for the University of Southern Mississippi. Where do you go? Like, are you constantly looking for new ideas, how to raise revenue? I mean, this is high stakes stuff here.
It is. It's funny you use the word job because it's never really felt like a job to me. And I can honestly, Glenn, I can remember probably 10 years ago talking to my wife and saying, if I could just sell Southern Miss, wouldn't that be a dream? Being a former athlete at Southern Miss, coming here, playing football, and the experience that I had here and the roommate that I had, the seeing where he grew up, seeing the difficult decisions that he had to make throughout his life, which was very different than the decisions that I had to make during my life. And then being in college and having a very different situation back then before all of this, to where, in his mind, it was better for him to go home, quit school, and to go back to do what he was doing, which was things that he shouldn't be doing back home, to help take care of his younger brothers and sisters, because he would say, I'm up here and I'm not helping them and they're struggling and I got to get down there to help them. And so when all of this started, I mean, it's not anything that just came up out of nowhere for me. It was definitely something that I was following throughout, my time. I graduated in 2013. I believe the lawsuit started in 2018. So the marketing side of my mind and the new age of NIL and social media marketing was already formulating of, hey, we're going to be able to make money off the kids because of the marketing power that they're going to have, for the brand and for the school, for the sport, for the town, and for the businesses. So all of that was kind of where we are now with the marketing arm as To the Top Collective. But the genesis for me was ultimately making an impact, making a transformative impact on a kid's life, because of the money that we were raising for them, because of the money that I knew existed in Hattiesburg for the athletes, for the support of the athletes, and then being diligent with that and making it so that they understood the job at hand and the contract they were signing, and being professional in that sense, where it's time to grow up. You're getting paid like you asked or like you wanted to be. And here's the responsibilities that come with that. Here's your 1099 at the end of the year. And here's how you fill that out, getting them connected with people in town. And again, like you mentioned the word job again, it's like, I don't feel like because now I've got players that are getting drafted or they've gotten bigger contracts or they're playing overseas and they reach out. Hey, I'm back in Hattiesburg. I need some help. And to me, when you ask what got me in it, it was because of that opportunity to really have an impact on a kid's life in a time where they could use it, in a time where if we're going to be doing this, we need to be doing it in the right way to make it meaningful for that kid and for his future, because it's just being Southern Miss. It's kind of Hattiesburg. Everybody, puts their arms around you, and they take care of you. They love you. They make sure that you're taken care of, because ultimately, if you end up leaving or if you go on to do something else, we want you to remember this place and we want you to represent it well. And if we have an impact on those kids that aren't making as much as kids playing at the school up north that's got a game tomorrow night in Arizona, that dream still exists for them. And there's an opportunity here. So for me, it was really just making that impact, seeing that, being a former player, understanding that there was some NIL money in Hattiesburg. I kind of had a feeler on that. I hung out with the quarterback when I played football at Southern, so I knew there was some things out there for some players, and that to me was why I kind of stayed in it and realized that no, it's not the only thing that can help us win a championship and be competitive, but if they're adding this layer to it, then we really want to be better than our competition at how we're doing it and being a full service for the kid and the family, because no kid really wants to go to college and then move every year or move every other year. And that's kind of the motto that I've always told the players, that the grass is going to be green where you water it. And we're just watering the grass here every day for you guys to be able to do what you need to do, but also for our fans and for the community that exists, because this is the sustainable model for athletes. I think I remember on the last show I watched, Ken, you might have mentioned the Green Bay Packers model, the idea of everybody having an ownership in the team. And that's what the fans are. And they want to know what these kids are doing. They want to know, how they're spending their money, what they're doing with it. And they want to make sure that, that they know where it came from, and they know that it's somebody's hard-earned money that is going to support them and their effort and whatever it is that they're going to do next. But ultimately it's because of who they are, what they represent, being a student athlete at Southern Miss and carrying the brand of the black and gold, outwardly, on their social media, on, we call it the front porch of our university, athletics. So you want that to look the best at all times. And raising money, finding different ways to be creative. It's been fun. It's been challenging. When the settlement happened in June of 2025, when the House settlement happened, the NCAA settled for just under $3 billion. And then they opened up a lot of areas for schools, for businesses to, be able to find new revenue streams. We launched a bourbon right before football season. We've got a bourbon label. We've partnered with Bespoken Spirits. It's a consumable good. You can buy it during graduation. You can buy it during the playoffs. You can buy it during the regionals. It's something that everybody can be proud of and support. It's a revenue stream. So that, to me, is what the world that we live in now, of finding those things out, turning over every stone, and then partnering with people like Ken that are invested in this in a way, because the space has grown so much, and adding another component to what we're doing, making the most sense of it all, and then being able to really benefit our investors and the student athletes at the same time. It just makes a lot of sense, because we don't feel like we're going anywhere. We don't feel like our Friday night pitcher is not going to be somebody we're going to want to keep and get drafted from here every year. We can have that. We can have the retention in baseball, and we can have the development in football, and the all the other sports that make this town operate with the youth and everything that sports can do, bringing people together. It allows us to just sustain that competitive edge, especially with just where we look at. We're in a state with 2 SEC schools, and a lot of times we can look down on ourselves of what we don't have and what we aren't. And a lot of times in this day and age, if we just compete, with the schools that we're competing against, then we've got to have an edge on them, and that's what keeps me going. That's what the NIL piece of it all, until they change the laws on the NIL piece, which I find it hard to believe, because we live in America, that they're not going to be able to do that we're not going anywhere. So.
And Glenn, Glenn, I just was going to say what Peter brings up a good point. What donors care about is what Peter's talking about. They care about the entire university. I've had donors say to me at predominant ACC schools, I'm withholding my check this year because it only goes to football. I get it. Football runs the show. I get it. I understand the numbers. We all do. That pays the bills, and most other sports, they don't make as much as football, and most lose money. I get it. But donors care about the full experience. They care about the rowing team. They care about the golf team. They care about the women's soccer team or the men's club rugby team. It's not a minor league system for the NFL. So how do you do that? The only way to fund all of this is to have a whole approach to the whole thing. So for an example, let's take Southern Miss. This is a real live example here. And Peter, correct me if I'm wrong on some of these numbers, but if Southern Miss is going to pay and contribute, and these are public numbers, up to maybe $3 million in player compensation to run their teams out onto the field, what our firm has come to Southern Miss and say, look, we're going to put together a private fund of $30 million not investor dollar. No, I'm sorry, not donations, but investor dollars. A private fund in a portfolio strategy that's appropriate, fixed income trading, etc., where it produces cash flow. If we can earn what we've typically earned, which is low double-digit returns net of fees, that will spit off on a $30 million fund, $3 million. Now, that belongs to the investors. It's an investor-directed fund. But if the investors are going to achieve 5 or 6% return on their money, that leaves 5 or 6% in my example to then donate to the athletic department of Southern Miss, which in this case is $1 million to $1.5 million. We've just raised their ability to spend more on player compensation from $3 million to $4.5 million. That's a 50% increase in just 1 year. Now, we can't do it alone. We have the work of Peter and the collective selling those $1,000 bottles of bourbon and providing those fan experiences, I say. We still need the athletic department of Southern Miss. They're great people. I've met a lot of them. They are dedicated to Southern Miss. They do a great job. They've got a lot to manage there, like any athletic department. They contribute some rev share, got some great donors, but we have that capital component. Now, all of a sudden, that $30 million fund has $31.5 million, and even after the contribution, now it grows some more. Might be some additional donors that become investors, and it continues to grow. It could be $50, $60 million, spitting off $3-4 million to the school. Those are not donations. The contributions to the school are donations, but the investor owns their investment in the fund like any other investment they have. And it requires accredited investors, qualified investors, and we talk to donors about that. But that's the genesis, and that's how it works. And that's how it works.
Okay. We got the money thing, but from a general fan perspective, I'm a fan, right?
Yeah.
What you guys are doing is great, but there has to be some regulations on this, because to me, and I could be wrong, but as I watch this whole thing unfold, and this is a little bit separate, I think, from what you guys are trying to do something right and help everybody, but it seems like the wild, wild west. It really does. I mean, for this, and this may not have anything to do with you guys, but for this portal to be open right now when there's semifinal games going on, tomorrow night, that makes no sense to me. And maybe it goes back to the calendar, Peter, that you were talking about at the beginning of the show. It just, there's time for all of this.
Yeah.
But does the portal, and the portal has a lot to do with NIL, right? It needs to be right now. What do you guys think about that? I mean, I don't really. It shouldn't be that way, right?
No, I agree. What's funny about it is the portal and the dates that they use. It's for whatever reason of like, hey, this is just the time in between semesters where we can advertise you can do this. But the portal's never not open. Anybody can just unenroll in a school and then enroll in another school because of the antitrust lawsuits that the NCAA's lost so many times. Nobody signs. When I went to college and signed a scholarship, it was a national letter of intent. Nobody signs those anymore. You're signing a pricing agreement once you enroll in the school. Well, that triggers your payments when you enroll. If you're not enrolled, you're not getting the payments, but you've got plans to go somewhere else, and nobody can tell you that you can't. They can look into tampering and, well, who told you to do that? It's like, nobody told me to do that. I don't want to go to school here anymore. Okay, you don't have to do that. Oh, you want to go to this school? Okay, you can do that. It's because we live in America. I mean, I hate to say it, the lawyers are the ones that have won in the transfer portal cases. And then, again, we get so distracted with college football and athletics and then school. Like, nobody talks about school and academic. No, you never hear about a kid being academically ineligible anymore. You remember when you used to hear, like, are they going to be able to play in the bowl game because their grades aren't good? It's like that doesn't exist anymore. So the education system and the athletic system are what is dividing the most in our country. I think a lot of, as a fan, just so you know, a lot of colleges and athletic departments have privatized themselves to be for profit and to run like a business and operate to generate revenue and profit. Because that's what they're doing, and that's what the media and the media contracts that the conferences have been able to negotiate now, that's what that's allowed. So the school, as a fan, you know, if your experience is getting better, there's a lot more pouring into it, and it is confusing. It is a little bit of the wild west, but it's also, you know, when you really take a step back and you really look at the intangibles, none of the kids asked for any of it. And that's what's so funny to me, that this element of money is now just out there in front of everybody. And that's kind of the capitalistic mindset that I have, that we're in the free market. And if somebody wants to pay $5 million for a quarterback, well, more power to them, you know? And I think when everybody tries to grasp their head around a kid making $5 million to play quarterback for 1 year, I think that's when people get weirded out. But to be honest with you, Glenn, there's a lot of people around this world that thought it was really funny that we would put 100,000 people to watch a bunch of amateurs play a sport anyways. So when you look at it from that standpoint, where in Europe it's okay to turn pro at 16 and still go to school and then have club sport and be a pro athlete and still get your education, we're just a little behind. And I think that's where we're getting to in a quick way with the advancement of athletics and how it's affecting our economy and everything. Because very few times can you look back in our nation's economy where a bubble or a new market just appeared. And that's what happened in this. It turned into $1 billion industry, player payroll within a couple years. And I mean, everybody's been saying for decades, when are the coaches' payments going to stop? They're not.
But this player compensation will bring some structure. People want structure. What you're talking about, Glenn, is structure. You're
probably.
You're saying Wild West, there's no rules. Like, there's no rules of engagement. There's no structure. Well, money brings structure. I was talking to a coach today. There's a player who I know intimately, who got paid nearly $500,000 to not even take the field this year for a major university. And he's getting paid the same amount next year to run onto the field in the school colors and play. He's a highly regarded player. Well, most schools can't afford to pay a player $500,000 to not even run onto the field, right? But if you want that kid to stay and develop how you want, and you have a little bit longer time horizon, then you need to generate revenue to be able to pay guys to sit and develop. And this particular player has grown 3 inches from his freshman year to his sophomore year. I was telling the collective that I was speaking with today that, you know, coaches and athletic directors, they move on. Some stay for a long period of time, but most move on, and most have a win now mentality. And they have to have a win now mentality. So it feeds the wild west. Pay this guy, move this guy, let this guy go. We don't want him anymore. It creates a frenzy of win now. I'm here in Tempe right now, going to the Ole Miss game against Miami tomorrow. And Arizona State, they were in the playoffs last year. This year, they're not. Their quarterback's left. They got a new quarterback. And I get that there's a win now, but there needs to be a slightly longer term time horizon taken. And you know who has that? The collectives and the fans. The fans, if you're a supporter of Southern Miss University or Ole Miss, who's here playing in Tempe tomorrow, if you're a fan or a supporter or an alumni of those universities, you're that for life. I'm an Army guy. I'm a West Point football guy. I love Army football no matter what, you know? And so this is an investor-directed, fan-directed component to create some structure, some long-term sustainability. What do you mean long-term sustainability, Ken? The ability to keep up with the rising costs, to keep players from transferring a little bit less. They transfer a little slower. Maybe you stay 2 years. I think the goal is, how do I get a guy to stay forever? No. Get a player to stay for 2 years. How about that?
Yeah.
There's like 4,000 kids in the portal right now. And that's great for them. That's the American dream. Somebody told me today, I was talking on the phone, they should be required to stay for 2 years. Are you required to stay in your job for 2 years?
Right.
No. I'm not going to tell you that you got to be a carpet cleaner for 2 years before you can move on and be a general contractor. I'm not, so they should be.
Yeah, I think people are adjusting to this, but it is a big adjustment, because there's so much going on. And I chuckle to you guys because my son goes to the University of Oklahoma. He's a junior, loves the football team, and for the last 4 days, he has said this to me probably 6 times. Dad, we're killing it in the portal. Right. And you're like, he's like, yeah, well, we got, Arch Manning's roommate, the wide receiver, he's coming to Oklahoma from Texas. It's great. And, and so you're talking about things that you're not used to talking about. And he's throwing names out there, and we got 2 receivers, and we need an offensive lineman, and that running back, that's going to cost a lot. It's like, whoa, what's going on? So I think it's so new and crazy for fans. And my hope is what you guys are saying, that it does settle a little bit, and I guess just become the norm.
Yeah, and here's the you're and I hope so too, Glenn. And I think that this partnership between collectives, athletic department foundations, which is the revenue share, and a capital component, those 3 legs of a 3-legged stool can work together. What universities are creating are liabilities. Oh, we want to get this guy. This guy's $3 million. We want to get this guy. He's $100,000. We want to get this guy. He's $60,000. We want to get this guy. He's $250,000. This guy's $500,000. We have these liabilities add up to $8 million, $9 million. Like, okay, we got the liabilities. That's easy. It's easy to spend money. Now, how are we going to pay for it? Well, rev share, the athletic department, they're going to kick down X. That number changes every year. Why? Because they have expenses to manage. They got sports to manage. They run a university athletic department. That's a big deal. That's bigger than most police departments and fire departments, in some cases, universities versus schools versus municipalities. So they have a big budget, okay? Yeah. And they don't know what they're going to do. When Peter goes out and does campaigns and creates great fan experiences, and they donate because they care about Southern Miss and putting good products on the field, that number that they raise varies every year. Okay, we got the rev share figured out. We got the donations. Do we meet our obligations or not? And what they're saying is, well, we're a couple $1 million short. That's why you hear stories of promises to players that then aren't fulfilled and players leave. That will happen again this year. It happens every year. We hear about it. Doesn't happen that often, but we will hear about it. Why? Donors change their mind. Why do donors change their mind? Well, they've got other commitments in their life too. Sure. We talked about that. So if you're invested in a fund, a private fund that you own, that creates a little bit of stability. It's not perfect. It will grow. It will produce revenue, but we're trying to create a sustainable model, a sustainable partnership that will allow some more predictability, because the fund is going to spit off what it does similar every year and then some. And Peter can track that. The investors can track that. They see where they are. The athletic departments, they have an idea, barring any surprises. The donations are a little bit more of a wild card. So we're trying to create sustainability and predictability and run it like a business. I've talked to many donors that say, I've said, if you created assets and created liabilities and had no assets to match up with it in your business, you'd be out of business. And they universally say we'd be out of business.
Yeah.
So that's
we got a question from one of our viewers. He says, do you, and either one of you can answer this, Peter, let's have you answer, because you're on campus with a specific university. But do you foresee a negative impact on team continuity and a team's on the field goals with players wanting to transfer to programs with deeper pockets?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. If any kid is looking for more money, then you could take money out of it, and that's going to be a problem with team continuity, because it's about the people. It's about the team. And that's one thing about working a job. Everybody might have a different wage or a salary or be at a different pay scale with tenure or whatever it is, but the goal's still the same. And you could get along in the workforce. I think the negative impact, I like to see it as more that all those things exist no matter what, right? You're always fighting team continuity in the locker room to try to get guys to buy in and get together.
Yeah.
One thing that stuck out with the last football team that we had and the coach that we had, he just called out the fact that a lot of people don't think about the way kids communicate now is very different from the way we communicated when we were in college and talking to people and having conversations. So the coach and the team that can do that the most, and let's say it's for 11 months that they've all got to come together for 11 months and work towards one common goal. I think that's really what is cherished in athletics and what is cherished in their longevity of their whatever comes in their life through adversity, whatever, how they're going to handle it is going to be. If you got a guy looking for for other schools with deeper pockets, I hate to say it, but that kid's always going to be looking for something else. And he's always going to be I hate to use the word cancer, but that's what every team's got them, and that's never been an issue. And I mean, excuse me, it's always been an issue. It's just now you can blame it on, oh, he wanted more money. Well,
sure.
Maybe
there's another reason out there.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe want to enter the portal, right? Money.
Yeah.
Right.
Deion Sanders said it the other day. Kids enter the portal for lots of reasons. This is what he said. But let's not kid ourselves. The number one reason is money.
Yeah.
There's coaches, and there might be a better defensive line coach or a better pitching coach or a better golf coach, but they leave for money. I mean, the coach is secondary. But let's talk about that question from that viewer about players continuity. What about coaching continuity?
Yeah.
You got the Ole Miss Rebels here. I mean, they're losing coaches every day that need to go to LSU because they need to recruit. That goes back to the calendar. I feel terrible for the Ole Miss Rebels. The best season they've had since Archie Manning was there back in the 60s, and they're losing coaches left and right. And whether you love Lane Kiffin or not, he deserves the right, in my opinion, to coach them all the way through. And that old coach and those players deserve the right to have that coaching staff finish what they started. And the portal and all this recruiting talk needs to just be pushed back a couple of weeks. The other piece is, why do coaches leave to go to another coaching opportunity? Money, yes, in their pocket. But what I hear coaches tell me privately, and Peter too, is they also leave because they've got more money to spend on player compensation to put a roster together. They might have a commitment of 1 year or 2 or 3 years of consistent availability of funds to put a roster together so the coach can win, right?
It's probably in a contract, right, Ken? I mean, if you're going to be a coach, you can say, "Oh, how much money am I going to make?" Okay, I'm going to make whatever. How much NIL money am I going to get?
Oh, Peter, you can talk to that. Is that in a contract, Peter, where you say,
what's happening now with a lot of athletic departments, the way they're doing that with contracts, it has a lot more to do with their partners. Like you've seen a lot of schools switch maybe Adidas to Nike or Nike to Adidas because the money on the other contract was tied up in merchandise for staff members or something. And they had $500 million where they were given clothes to these people and say, well, we got to get out of this deal. And then these guys will give us 500 to sign all of our players. So now they're all Nike athletes at the Nike school, and it doesn't have to hit the cap because it's an NIL deal with Nike and the school.
Yeah. And maybe the deal before that was signed before NIL came into play.
Exactly. So this is where the capital markets come in, because it can grow faster than donations or even rev share availability of rev share dollars. And it can grow faster than and do its best to help keep pace as best it can and provide predictability. If you're a coach and you leave one school for another and you're being told you're going to get X amount of dollars over the next 2 years, heck, you could put not officially 2 year deals together, but you can show a player, look, we can pay you for 2 years. We can do this. We have this. So now you can pick those players to create some continuity in your roster, to go back to that viewer's original question, because it comes down to dollar availability and flexibility. And that matters. So it has to work together. I'll pound the table on it. And it's being receptive. It's already happening. There's already funds being set up at universities, some different formats, some are donations into a fund, where our fund, along with the donors, the investors at Southern Miss, the investors get that money back, but they can sell out of the fund whenever they want to. It's not a donation into a fund. So that's the difference.
All right. So guys, I want to finish this. Ask each one of you guys a specific question. Starting with Ken, we're talking about the University of Southern Mississippi, right in the heart of SEC country, right? Is your sales pitch, your ideas with Partners Capital, which I think is a terrific idea. You know how I feel about it, and there's no question that it is going to work.
Oh yeah, you run it like a business. You run it like a business. It is a business.
Do you have the same sales pitch to the University of Southern Mississippi as you do to LSU, Texas, Oklahoma,
Absolutely.
Alabama?
Absolutely.
So there's
I've talked to the folks at University of Tennessee in Knoxville, Vanderbilt, Washington State University, Ole Miss. I've had these conversations up and down. It doesn't matter the size of the school. Look, investors want to make money on their money. They want to support their school. Yes, it's about winning, but it's also about educating athletes. They care about women's golf. They care about men's golf. They care about women's soccer. You'd be surprised how many donors don't just care about football. They care about all of it. And when they see that there is a need, and there is a need at the big schools and the small schools, it doesn't matter. Like I said in the beginning of this broadcast, University of Arkansas, $175 million budget for athletics and $175 million in debts. They zero out every year, and now they have a shortfall. So it matters to have that capital component. So it's the same, but it's not just raising money. It's raising money, investing money, helping to create a sustainable model, but it's also educating the athletes on how to manage that money. I say it before, it doesn't matter if they're athletes. They're 20, they're 19. If I put $1 million in anyone's pocket today at age 19, I doubt that they would be perfect with that money. It's not because they're athletes. Athletes are very, very smart. Come on, give me a break here, okay? So it's about educating them. And then finally, it's about helping the other sports too, and creating, like Peter talks about, the Hattiesburg, Southern Miss, Kent State, Washington State, Pullman, Washington, wherever it is, a rising tide lifts all boats. And if we can create a sustainable revenue stream that benefits everyone involved, the investors, the athletes, the university, the community, the hotels, the street vendors, that's what it'll do. It will create for an amazing atmosphere that the colleges have already done a great job doing. But now you've got this bitter taste. He's just leaving. I'm not going anymore. I'm not going to the game. I'm not going to do this. They're justifiably bitter because there's no structure. And we can add some structure. That's all.
All right.
So yeah, it's the same.
Peter, final question. You are, as I said, right in the middle of SEC country. You're in the Sun Belt Conference. What's the biggest obstacle for you at Southern Miss, being located where you are with all these giant universities, huge budgets, 100,000 people in their stadiums on Saturday? Where does that hurt Southern Miss the most, do you think?
Well, where it hurts us the most is what the media coverage of it all to me, because that's where you see the biggest gap of exposure. Like if we were on prime time every night, our product, was good, and to us, like, we are prime time. Like, our games are on Saturdays. Well, there's a lot of other games on Saturdays, and we're not watching them. It's like, but we got to find them. We got to go to ESPN Plus, and I think that element has helped. very much, but the TV markets, when the first conference realignment started happening, like early 2000s, mid 2010, when it was all about TV markets, that's when we probably got hurt the most because of just where Hattiesburg is, and it's 90 miles from New Orleans, it's 90 miles from Jackson. We have the coast, but we're connected to Mobile. It's very weird how the TV market, how they mapped it all out when they did that realignment. And then when you see just the pure numbers of it all, that is where the media is telling you to watch. That's the best game on. And
absolutely.
It's hilarious to me, Glenn, because, when you watch a game, there might not be anybody there, but it's an SEC game, and they're not going to show the stadium the way they do at another. It's the way it's covered, and that's what probably hurts us the most, just the way it's covered. So,
but there's not a whole lot of empty seats at an SEC game. I mean, you have to admit that.
I agree, but the ones you're watching, they're not the primetime.
Yeah, that's probably true.
The ones that are the ones that I could specifically call out, that there's nobody there, and the camera never pans the stadium, and it sounds loud. It's just the way it's covered. But I think just from our standpoint, remembering who we are, identifying what is going to make us successful. And I think because this is so new, because we're paying players, we see now players leaving in the transfer portal. I think our fans and our investors, our donors, our fans that care about what they're giving to and who they're giving to, that they need to know that kid is getting 7-figure offers, and we're never going to pay him that, nor should we expect to, because look, that gap from Group of 5 payments to the SEC is large. And to me, it says a lot more about that the kid can go up there and make more money, but he might not get to play. And if he doesn't get to play, he's never going to. Right.
And just like I said,
Right.
Glenn, just like I said in the first broadcast a couple of weeks ago, having a capital component along with all the things that Peter's doing and the athletic department Southern Miss is doing can help close that gap a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to start a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And Kid's right. I mean, just being strategic with how we're spending it, the way we're spending it, but also making sure, there's new structure, like the space is growing. We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier of how there should be more parameters. There's insurance. You can actually buy a policy on a kid. If he gets arrested, you get money back.
Really?
You can have incentive-based proposals to a kid to show him $1 million extra more dollars if he performs well, because let's be honest, if he's performing well, his market value is going to go up, because we're going to get that 7 p.m. ESPN primetime game if everybody's doing their job. So, and that really is nothing new in sports and NFL and the way contracts are written. It's just new for college amateurs, and that's what we're getting used to. So
you guys think that as in the next 5 years, this whole deal we're talking about will get tightened up a little bit, and when it's all said and done, be a good thing?
Yeah. And this champion of the Sun Belt or the champion of the American will win the first round of their playoff game. That's going to happen. We never thought a 16 could beat a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Exactly.
We never thought a 2 seed could beat or a 15 could beat a 2. Come on. It's not going to happen that often, but the thrill.
Well, the game.
I was at the Tulane Ole Miss game in Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a great atmosphere, a great organization, great people run that place. They don't have the largest stadium in the SEC.
No, they don't. You're right.
They don't. But I'll tell you, they were kind to the Tulane fans. The Tulane fans showed up from New Orleans and in thousands and thousands of people. The band, the cheer squad, all of that. And then for a minute, Tulane was like, we got a good squad and we got a chance. And you know what I mean? So it ended up not being close, but that's what college is about. The Tulane folks were like, we got a shot. We're here.
Yeah.
Are you telling me we got a chance?
Yeah.
We got a chance.
They made $4 million for getting there. So.
Sure. All right, that's
Good
it.
return.
You know what? I'm cheering for Southern Miss next year, Peter.
See,
That's
the
it.
top.
there you go.
Thanks, Glenn.
Hey, guys, thank you, Ken. Awesome as always. We'll see you in a couple of weeks for another edition of the Glenn Kuiper Show
You
by
got it.
Partners Capital LLC. And Peter, it's been great talking with you. I'd love to meet you sometime in person. And if I'm in Hattiesburg, I'm calling you, all right?
Please do. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Glenn.
it.
Thanks,
man.
guys.
Thank
Ken,
you.
see you in a couple of weeks, all right? All right, so that is it for this edition of the Glenn Kuiper Show. As we dig into the world of college sports and NIL, to me, it's very, very interesting stuff. And what Ken is doing and his Partners Capital Fund, he's doing the right thing. And I think it has a big chance to work throughout college sports. I hope so. And again, we thank Ken Gamble. He's going to be on every time we do this show. And Peter Bain, the executive director of the To the Top Collective, which is the NIL marketing arm for the University of Southern Mississippi. We thank both of those gentlemen, and I hope you enjoyed this special edition of the Glenn Kuiper Show. It was fun, and I love learning and talking about it. So thanks for joining us, everybody. This show, as always, brought to you by Partners Capital LLC. It's a wealth management firm providing financial strategies for elite performances and lasting peace of mind. Partners Capital, your partner for a stronger financial future. Call them at 1-888-702-7743. Also brought to you by Tilden Properties. When you buy and you invest in Tilden Properties, you're going to invest in multifamily real estate in the state of California. If you do it, you'll get quarterly dividends and equity buildup in the real estate market. Barry-based, family-owned. It's Tilden Properties. Go to their website, tildenproperties.com. You'll see all their portfolio, all the multi-family real estate that they own. Very interesting stuff. They're always looking for investors. You could be one of them. 925-209-8558. And by the Carrig Real Estate Team, contact Mike Carrig today for a free home sale or purchase consultation. It's the Carrig Real Estate Team. They will guide you home when you get into the market, whether you're buying or selling a home. Carrig Real Estate Team. That's carrigteam.com. 925-548-4132. And last but not least, Area Rug Cleaning Direct, a subsidiary of Gamble's Flooring. If your area rug needs professional cleaning or repair, Area Rug Cleaning Direct will pick it up and return your area rug looking brand new within 5 business days. Call Area Rug Cleaning Direct at 925-933-9999 for all your area rug needs. That is it for tonight's show. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back talking baseball on Friday night. We're going to come your way at 8 o'clock. Got a special guest. Talk a lot about the Giants minor league system. Really good stuff. So make sure you join us Friday night, the Glenn Kuiper Show, 8 o'clock. And that is when we will come your way next. Hope you enjoyed tonight's special edition. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And we'll see you Friday night for the next edition of the Glenn Kuiper Show. Thanks, everybody.